The doorbell at Sacred Heart Convent rang at exactly 3:17 a.m., cutting through the silence like a scream. Sister Patricia bolted upright in her narrow bed, her heart hammering against her ribs. In 32 years of religious life, she had never heard that brass bell ring at such an ungodly hour. Down the hallway, she could hear the shuffling of slippers against hardwood floors as other sisters stirred from their sleep. The bell rang again, more insistent this time, echoing through the corridors of the century-old building in Brooklyn Heights. Mother Superior Rose appeared in the hallway, her gray hair hastily tucked under a simple nightcap, her weathered face creased with concern. "Sister Patricia, Sister Joan, come with me. The rest of you, back to your rooms." The three women made their way down the grand staircase, past the oil paintings of long-dead bishops and the flickering votive candles that never went out. The bell had stopped ringing, but the silence that followed felt somehow more ominous. Mother Superior peered through the peephole of the heavy oak door, then stepped back with a puzzled expression. "There's no one there." Sister Joan, the youngest of the three at 28, pressed her face to the narrow window beside the door. "Wait, there's something on the steps." They opened the door cautiously, the October wind rushing in with the scent of fallen leaves and the distant hum of late-night traffic from the Brooklyn Bridge. There, centered perfectly on the top step, sat a wooden box about the size of a shoebox, unmarked except for a small white envelope taped to its lid. "Should we call the police?" Sister Patricia whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. Mother Superior knelt down, her arthritic knees protesting, and examined the box without touching it. The wood was old, possibly mahogany, with intricate carvings along the edges that seemed to depict religious scenes. The envelope was sealed with what looked like red wax, though in the dim light from the porch lamp it was hard to be certain. "Bring it inside," she decided, carefully. They carried the mysterious package to the kitchen, the heart of convent life, where the familiar smells of tomorrow's bread dough and lingering coffee provided some comfort against the strangeness of the moment. Under the bright fluorescent lights, the box looked even more unusual. The carvings were definitely religious in nature: angels, crosses, what might have been scenes from the Passion, but the style was unlike anything they had seen before. Sister Joan reached for the envelope. "Should I open this first?" "Together," Mother Superior said firmly. "Whatever this is, we face it together." The wax seal broke easily, too easily, as if it had been designed to be opened rather than to secure. Inside was a single sheet of cream-colored paper with writing in elegant script. "To the Sisters of Sacred Heart Convent. The contents of this box have been waiting 75 years to be revealed. What you find inside will challenge everything you believe about your order's history. The truth has been buried long enough. Sister Magdalene knew this day would come. A friend of the truth." The three women stared at the note, then at each other. Sister Magdalene had been the founding Mother Superior of Sacred Heart, a legendary figure who had established the convent in 1948 and run it with iron discipline until her death in 1963. Her portrait hung in the main hallway, and her strict OEE teaching still influenced daily life at the convent 60 years later. "This is some kind of prank," Sister Patricia said, but her voice lacked conviction. Mother Superior examined the box more closely. Now she could see that it had a small brass lock, but there was no keyhole. Instead, there was a mechanism that looked almost like a combination lock, with tiny religious symbols instead of numbers. "Look at this," she murmured, pointing to the symbols, seemed to rotate. "There are 12 of them," and Sister Joan leaned in closer. Magdalene's tomb in the cemetery. Those symbols, some of them match the carvings on Sister they had. All visited the elaborate marble tomb countless times, bringing flowers and saying prayers for their order's founder. The carvings there had always seemed purely decorative, but now, looking at the symbols on the box, a pattern seemed to emerge. "We need to go to the cemetery," Mother Superior said quietly. "Now? In the middle of the night?" Sister Patricia's voice cracked slightly. "If someone wanted us to have this box at this time, there must be a reason. And if the answer is on Sister Magdalene's tomb, then that's where we need to go." The cemetery behind the convent was a peaceful place during the day, with its neat rows of simple headstones marking the final resting places of sisters who had served at Sacred Heart over the decades. At 4 a.m., with shadows dancing between the old oak trees and the wind whistling through the wrought iron fence, it felt like a different world entirely. Sister Magdalene's tomb stood apart from the others, an imposing marble structure that had always seemed somewhat out of place given the convent's emphasis on humility and simplicity. By flashlight, they examined the carvings more carefully than ever before. "Here," Sister Joan said, her beam illuminating a series of symbols along the base of the tomb. "These match the ones on the box, and they're in a specific order." They memorized the sequence and hurried back to the warmth of the kitchen. Mother Superior's fingers trembled slightly as she manipulated the symbols on the box's lock, aligning them according to the pattern they had found. The lock clicked open with a sound like a sigh. Inside the box, nestled in faded red velvet, were items that made no immediate sense. There was a bundle of letters tied with a black ribbon, a small silver locket, a yellowed photograph, and what appeared to be official documents with government seals. Mother Superior lifted out the photograph first. It showed a young woman in fine civilian clothes, not a nun's habit, standing beside a man in a military uniform. The woman bore a striking resemblance to the portrait of young Sister Magdalene that hung in the convent's archives. "That's impossible," Sister Patricia breathed. She had no life before religious service. Sister Magdalene came to us as a postulant, but the evidence was right there in black and white. Sister Joan opened the locket to reveal 2 more photos, the same woman and the same soldier, this time with a small child between them. With shaking hands, Mother Superior untied the ribbon around the letters. The first one was dated April 15, 1947, and began, "My dearest Margaret, I know you've made your choice, but Catherine needs to know about her mother. The war is over, but the secrets we kept to protect each other are tearing us apart." The letters told a story that challenged everything they thought they knew about their order's beloved founder. Margaret O'Sullivan, Sister Magdalene, had not been a young woman called to religious life. She had been a war bride, married to Lieutenant James Mitchell in London during World War II. They had a daughter, Catherine, born in 1943. But the story grew more complex with each letter. Margaret had been involved in intelligence work during the war, helping coordinate resistance efforts in occupied France. When the war ended, she had been marked for assassination by surviving Nazi collaborators who knew she could identify them. "Listen to this," Mother Superior read from one of the later letters. "The OSS has arranged for your new identity. You'll be Sister Magdalene at Sacred Heart Convent in Brooklyn. James will take Catherine, and they'll disappear into new lives. In California. It's the only way to keep you all safe. But Margaret, you need to know, this isn't permanent. When the heat dies down, when the war criminals are caught or dead, you can reclaim your life." The government documents confirmed what the letters suggested. Margaret O'Sullivan had been officially declared dead in a London bombing in 1947. Sister Magdalene had appeared at Sacred Heart Convent just months later, with impeccable references and a substantial donation that had helped establish the order's financial stability. "She never went back to them," Sister Joan whispered, looking at the dates on the letters. "The last letter from her husband is from 1952. He's begging her to come home, saying it's safe now, that Catherine is asking about her mother." Mother Superior found the final piece of the puzzle in the bottom of the box. A letter in Sister Magdalene's own handwriting, dated just days before her death in 1963. "To whoever finds this box, I pray it will be my sisters at Sacred Heart, the women who became my true family when I lost everything else. I came here as a lie, a fabrication created by the government to keep me alive. But I stayed because I found something here that I had never known before. Peace." James and Catherine built a life without me. They were better off without the danger I represented, without the secrets I carried. I watched from afar as Catherine grew up, married, had children of her own. She became a teacher in San Diego, just like I always dreamed she would. James remarried, a wonderful woman who gave Catherine the mother she deserved. I could have left Sacred Heart at any time after 1950. The men who wanted me dead were captured or killed. My government handlers told me I was free to reclaim my identity. But this convent, these women, this life of service, it had become more real to me than the life I had left behind. The truth is, Margaret O'Sullivan died in that London bombing, just as the records say. Not her body, but her soul. The woman who survived was someone new, someone who needed Sacred Heart as much as Sacred Heart needed her. Sister Magdalene wasn't a disguise. She was a resurrection. If you're reading this, it means the time has come for full truth. I've left instructions with my lawyer that this box should be delivered to the convent 75 years after my arrival here. By then, anyone who might be hurt by these revelations will be long gone. I want my sisters to know that every rule I established, every tradition I created, every decision I made was driven by love for this community, and by the knowledge that sanctuary isn't just a place. It's a choice to become something better than what the world tried to make you. There's one more thing you should know. The money that founded this convent didn't come from my family fortune, as I claimed. It came from Nazi gold that I helped recover during the war, blood money that I turned into something holy. Every meal you've eaten, every roof that sheltered you, every act of charity you've performed has been funded by treasure stolen from the victims of evil, transformed by God's grace into instruments of good. I pray you can forgive an old woman's deception. I pray you understand that sometimes the greatest truth requires the greatest lie. And I pray that Sacred Heart will continue to be what it has always been, a place where broken souls can be made whole. The kitchen fell silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of early morning traffic beginning to build on the streets of Brooklyn. The three sisters sat surrounded by the remnants of a secret that had been carefully guarded for decades. "What do we do with this?" Sister Patricia asked finally. Mother Superior carefully gathered the letters, the photographs, the documents. "We do what Sister Magdalene would have done. We protect this community and everyone in it." But shouldn't the other sisters know? What they need to know is that Sacred Heart was founded by a woman who sacrificed everything to create something beautiful and lasting. The details of how that happened, those are less important than the results. Sister Joan picked up the photograph of Sister Magdalene with her husband and child, gave up her family for us, She? No, Mother Superior corrected gently. She gave up one family and created another. Every sister who has lived here for the past 75 years has been part of Sister Magdalene's family. Every person we've helped, every life we've touched. That's her real legacy. They decided to keep the box and its contents in the Convent's safe, to be opened only by future Mother Superiors who might need to understand the full truth about their order's origins. But they also decided to honor Sister Magdalene's sacrifice in a new way. The next morning, they announced to the community that they would be establishing a new ministry, helping women who needed to escape dangerous situations, providing them with safe haven and new identities if necessary. They would call it the Magdalene Project. Sometimes, Mother Superior explained to the assembled sisters, God calls us not just to serve Him, but to serve those who need sanctuary from the storms of this world. Our founder understood that better than anyone. Sister Patricia looked out the window toward the cemetery, where Sister Magdalene's elaborate tomb stood as a monument to a woman whose real story was far more complex and heroic than anyone had imagined. The box had contained more than documents and photographs. It had contained the truth about transformation, about redemption, about the possibility of becoming someone entirely new while honoring who you had been before. Later that day, as they prepared for evening prayers, Sister Joan found herself thinking about Catherine Mitchell, the little girl who had grown up without her mother, so that Sacred Heart Convent could have its founding Mother Superior. She said a special prayer for her, for the sacrifice she had unknowingly made, and for the possibility that somewhere in San Diego, an elderly woman might still remember a mother who had disappeared into the shadows of history to keep her family safe. The truth, as Sister Magdalene had written, sometimes required the greatest lies, but it also revealed the greatest love. The love of a woman who had chosen to die to herself so that others might live, and who had built something eternal out of the ashes of a life she could never reclaim. In the end, the box had delivered exactly what its mysterious sender had promised, a truth that challenged everything they believed about their order's history. But rather than destroying their faith in Sister Magdalene, it had only deepened their understanding of the extraordinary woman who had shaped their lives and their calling. Sacred Heart Convent would continue to be a place of sanctuary, just as it had always been. But now they understood that sanctuary wasn't just about providing shelter from the world's dangers. It was about the miraculous possibility of becoming someone entirely new while never losing sight of the love that made transformation possible.